I held down 2 jobs since 16, paid every bill, kept that house running while my siblings did nothing. Then one night I discovered a strange paper, cut every tie and disappeared. The next morning my phone exploded, but I couldn't even respond. Imagine spending your entire life believing you owe everything to the people who raised you. Now, picture finding out they'd been actively draining your future, while hiding a truth so profound it reshaped your entire identity. What would you do if the family you built your life around turned out to be built on a lie? My name's Bennett. I was 26, trapped in Pittsburgh, working every waking hour. Daytime at a deli, overnight stocking a dollar store. Every dime I earned, every tip, every spare change, it all went into a kitchen jar labeled household pot. They treated me like a walking ATM, perpetually greasy from the deli, but never truly their son. My parents, Renee and Todd, they had this warped idea of a compliment. They'd beam and call me their built-in parent. "We don't know what we'd do without you, Ben," Mom would coo, especially after I'd spent hours shuttling Ava to cheer practice or Luke to JV basketball across town. I'd come home utterly exhausted, only to find a sink full of crusted pans, laundry piled to the ceiling, and a mental list of all the things only I seemed to notice were broken. "Oh, it's just easier if you do it," Mom once said almost casually when I dared ask why no one else ever folded towels. "You just do it right." And the bills? Forget it. My phone plan, my Netflix, even the electricity, all in my name, for the discount, Mom claimed. But when the late notices inevitably came, it wasn't their credit that took the hit. It was mine. I once found a red envelope, tucked away under pizza coupons. A final notice. When I confronted her, she just shrugged. "Oh, that? Yeah, I meant to pay it. You've got better credit anyway. Ours is shot." My credit, my future. Just another thing for them to use up. Dad, Todd, he ran a landscaping business. Small but honest, he'd always say. Except when he'd toss me his keys at 9 p.m. "Go pick up that blower from the shop." Forgot it again. And then, without fail, "You chipped in for gas lately?" If I said no, he'd just grunt, "Figures." One day I mentioned wanting to take boxing classes, cheap ones in Homestead. "We need that money for bills," he barked, not missing a beat. Mom jumped in. "Boxing is a luxury, Ben. Family comes first, right?" Their kind of family meant Ava got her oat milk and brand name granola, Luke his fancy protein powder. Me, I got off-brand mac and bruised bananas from the discount bin. My schedule, my double shifts, my weekend work. It all lived in my head, crumpled amidst deli slips and IOUs for gas money. The kitchen calendar was sacred for Ava and Luke's events, plastered with bright ink. My life? Not even worth a marker. And the stories, there was no baby book for me. No framed photos before the twins arrived. I once asked about my birth story, and Mom gave me this strange, tight smile. "You were a miracle," she said, like I was a warm-up act before the real kids showed up. Then the little things started to pile up. I needed my social security card for paperwork and saw the issue date was when I was about 5. Weird. My childhood shots weren't from Allegheny County or anywhere near Pittsburgh. They were from a clinic in Wheeling, West Virginia. That made 0 sense. I remembered Mrs. Wan, our neighbor, catching me once. "You were so quiet when you first came to live with them," she'd said, then clamped her lips shut like she'd swallowed her tongue. It was like pieces of a puzzle I didn't know I was solving. And every time I cooked something genuinely good, Mom would wag a finger, "Don't get fancy. Save that for people who pay your wage." Then she'd snap her fingers. Played it right, though, like a restaurant. Yeah, that was my life. Built-in parent, built-in driver, built-in maid. But never, not once, did I ever feel like their kid. My real breathing room came at the Hill District Community Kitchen. Tuesdays and Thursdays, right after my deli shift. No one there cared how tired I looked or what beat-up car I pulled up in. They just handed me an apron and pointed to a sink. I'd chop onions till my eyes burned, stir massive pots of chili, and serve trays to people who said thank you, like it genuinely meant something. No calendar packed with someone else's plans, no fake family first lines. Just sweat, heat, food. And for the first time it felt like mine. Mr. Delgado ran that kitchen like a tight ship, but quietly. He watched. On my third night, I adjusted the vinegar in a chili pot. Just a splash balanced it out. Delgado clocked it. After a minute of silence, he leaned over. "You've got a real palate, kid. I'll cover your classes if you show up and grind." I just nodded. If I'd tried to speak, I probably would have choked on my own hope. The next night, he handed me a beat-up serve safe book, pages bent, notes in the margins. Told me he'd walk me through it, basic knife skills too. But I had to do the work. Then he looked me dead in the eye and said something that hit me like a ton of bricks. "Stop wasting time arguing with people who like your labor, but not your future." It landed hard. I'd been so deep in the grind, I hadn't seen it clearly. But he saw right through it all. I tried to tell my parents over dinner, even though I already knew how it would go. "Delgado wants to sponsor me for kitchen training," I ventured. "I'd be taking classes 2 nights a week. I'll still cover rides for the twins. Just need a little flex." Mom didn't even glance up from her phone. Who's going to handle their rides when you're at class? The house doesn't run itself. Dad didn't wait 2 seconds. "Don't get big ideas, Ben. Just be reliable at the deli. That's what matters. That's where the money comes from." They didn't ask who Delgado was. Didn't ask what I wanted to learn. Just shut it down, like I was speaking nonsense. The very next morning, my deli manager pulled me aside. Someone had called, anonymous, claiming I'd been sneaking meat home at night. Cold cuts and rotisserie. A total lie. I laughed it off, but it stuck with me. He said he had to log it, just in case. That same evening, Delgado showed up at the deli, no warning, just came by for coffee. While I bagged his order, he leaned in low. "If anyone asks, I'll vouch for you. You're straight. Don't let them scare you off." His tone was calm, but it was the first time in a long while someone had my back without me even having to ask. A week later, I went to the community college, just to figure out how to start. Not even to register. That's where I met Harper Diaz. She worked the registrar window evenings, a paralegal finishing her own studies. She had this calm voice and didn't talk down to me once. When I told her I needed info for a real ID, she asked about my birth certificate. "Only have a copy," I said. She frowned slightly. "If it's lost, you'll need a certified copy. Start early. Some counties drag their feet." She tapped a few things into her computer, then looked up. "Are the utilities and phone plan actually yours? Or just in your name?" My stomach clenched. "Both," I admitted. "If other people use the accounts and payments fall behind, that's on you. Just be careful, okay?" It wasn't a warning. It was the quiet advice of someone who'd seen it all before. That night, digging through the junk drawer for my Serve Safe test date, Delgado said it'd be mailed soon. Amidst expired coupons and old chargers, I found a letter, unopened. The test date was 4 days ago. I held it up to Mom in the kitchen. "You get the mail every day. Why didn't you give me this?" She glanced at it, shrugged. "Must have slipped. Don't blame me if you're not organized." She didn't blink, just went back to stirring her tea. I rebooked the test myself. Delgado said he'd cover the cost, but only this once. Show up next time or don't bother. His eyes were steady. No anger, just truth. At church that weekend, Noah, this quiet guy who usually sat 2 pews ahead, caught me in the parking lot. Said he'd heard I was trying to get into culinary. I must have looked utterly broken, because he didn't even ask. He just said, "Crash on my couch if you need a breather until you find a place." "We'll figure it out." I almost said no out of pure habit, but I didn't. I just nodded. "Yeah," I said. "That might help." It was after 1 a.m. I was hauling trash to the curb, a sink full of cold, untouched pans waiting for me. The twins' uniforms were still thudding in the dryer, and someone had left an empty milk jug on the counter, like it would magically refill itself. I stood there, hands wet, shoulders screaming from work, driving, hauling all day. Something inside me just snapped. I said it out loud, quiet but sharp, right there in that kitchen under the buzz of the fridge light. I'm not your built-in babysitter. I'm done bankrolling this house. The next morning, I packed 2 duffels. One for work shirts, socks, my best boots. The other, my old chef's knife, wrapped in a towel, a binder of pay stubs, and Delgado's battered serve-safe manual. I waited until the house was empty. Mom at her hair appointment. Dad on a landscaping job, the twins at school. Noon. I shut the door behind me. No note. No word. Noah had cleared a corner in his basement. Concrete floor, 1 space heater, a twin mattress that creaked when I dropped my bags. No window, but the air felt clean. Breathing room. Pay me when you can, he said, holding out a spare key. I thanked him, and I truly meant it. That night, cross-legged on that mattress, I exhaled so hard I had to sit still for a few minutes before I could even think again. First move. The very next morning, I walked into a credit union and opened an account, finally in my name. Real ID in process, new routing number set. I called my deli boss and switched my direct deposit right away. Next, I logged into the phone plan, the one I'd opened at 19 because you're the only one with decent credit, Ben. I ported my number to a prepaid carrier. The other 3 lines, Mom, Dad, Ava, they were already showing past due by $89. Luke's line had been cut off last month. It didn't matter who ran it up. On paper, it was mine. I backed out of that account, canceled Netflix, scheduled the electric service to transfer out of my name at the end of the billing cycle, picked up a small prepaid hotspot for class. When Mom texted a few hours later, the TV stopped working. Fix it, I didn't answer. Dad left a voicemail that night. No greeting, just family comes first. Your tips are household money, and you know that. I stared at the phone. Then I set my lock screen to silence unknown numbers. I walked into Delgado's kitchen the next day. I'm good to make every class now. No more rides, no more house stuff. He didn't smile, didn't ask why, just nodded and handed me a binder with food safety drills, knife diagrams, the weekly schedule. Show up. Do the drills. No excuses. That was it. Harper came by the kitchen that night. She saw me trying to track my hours and food costs on a scrap of receipt paper. Didn't say anything snide, just pulled out her laptop. I made a budget template you can copy. Rent, food, class fees. Start simple. Document everything, especially anything from the old accounts, just in case. I didn't argue, just nodded and took the flash drive. It felt like someone tossing me a life raft without asking if I could swim. That first week away, I slept through the night for the first time in years. No footsteps waking me for a quick ride. No last-minute laundry piles. No late-night grocery runs because someone forgot cereal. Just silence. One night, I even slept through my alarm. Missed breakfast, but I didn't feel bad about it. Each morning, for about 5 minutes, the guilt would hit. Not because I missed them, but because I knew how they'd spin it. You abandoned the family. You're ungrateful after all we did. Their voices in my head. But once I stood up, pulled on my work shirt, and saw the calendar with only my name on it, that weight slid off. My shoulders dropped. The guilt passed. Noah didn't ask for updates. Mostly kept to himself, working nights at a medical supply warehouse. Every few evenings, he'd tap on the basement door, drop off leftovers, or just sit for a few minutes before his shift. Never pressed, never judged. You getting your footing? He asked once. Yeah, I said. Finally. Delgado kept it tight at the kitchen. No room for sloppiness. Corrected my cuts, drilled me on safe temps, taught me to taste before seasoning. Respect the line, he'd say. You don't respect it, it won't respect you back. I took it to heart. One night, I texted Harper a screenshot of my updated budget. No emojis, no fluff. Just bills balanced, no past dues, groceries covered, still on track. She responded 5 minutes later. That's what we call a grown adult move. Proud of you. I sat on that twin mattress, eating leftover rice and beans, staring at that message longer than I needed to. Not because of the words, but because I finally believed them. I was on my 15-minute break behind the deli, cramming for my serve-safe exam with a highlighter and lukewarm coffee, when I saw Mom's minivan pull into the lot. She parked crooked, too fast, and got out like it was an emergency. Her eyes were already wet. "Benny, just hear me out," she said, like she hadn't been ignoring my texts for 2 weeks. I just stood up, silent, and waited. She rubbed her temple, then went straight into it. "The phone bill's a mess now. Your sister's line keeps dropping. I need you to put it back. Just the account, just for the credit score. It's your name, your score. It won't hurt you." The words hung in the air, a familiar poison. "It's already hurting me," I said. "I'm not putting it back." Her face twisted. "You're acting like this is nothing. Like this family didn't raise you." "I'm not your bank," I replied, voice flat. "And I'm not going back." She just clutched her purse, turned and walked away. I went to clock back in, patted my jacket pocket, and my keys were gone. I checked the curb, my bag, the break table. Nothing. I called her. She answered on the second ring. Oh, I grabbed them by accident. They were just sitting there. She even laughed lightly. "You made me late." Well, I didn't know they were important today. They were. I missed the test window. Had to rebook it again. Delgado didn't say much, but I saw it on his face. "You better not make that a pattern," he warned. "Second chances don't mean you get thirds." I passed it a week later, scored high, kept the paper slip folded in my wallet like a badge. But it sat heavy. Later that month, at the library, printing class notes, I finally pulled my credit report. I needed to know how deep the damage was. And there it was, a store card, opened under my name with a balance of $1,182. Opened 4 months ago. Same home address I'd just left. I stared at the screen, fingers frozen on the mouse. My name, my SSN, my problem. I printed it out and took the bus straight to the kitchen. Harper was already there doing homework. I dropped the printout in front of her. "That's not my debt." She read it, jaw clenched. "We can dispute this, and you need to send them a cease and desist. If they use your info again, it needs to be on record." The next day, we drafted the letter at her firm's copier. Clear, direct. Stop using my identity. She helped me get it notarized and sent certified. "This isn't spite," she said. "It's protection." Delgado backed me too. When I told him, he pulled a wrinkled letterhead from his drawer. "Tell me what to write. I'll sign it. I've seen you clock in. Work clean. Hit deadlines. If it goes to court, I'll say what I know." I filed a small claims case that week. Went downtown, through metal detectors, handed over a folder with bank statements, ID, credit report, the disputed card screenshot. The clerk stamped everything. Hearing date within 6 weeks. That night, Mom texted, "You're tearing this family apart over a piece of plastic. Hope you sleep well." 2 days later, Dad called from a blocked number. His voice was calm. Too calm. "Just put the Netflix back. Your sister's stressed. All this overreaction for what?" I hung up. Delgado put me on steam table prep for the night crew. I stayed late, practicing Brunoise cuts on carrots and celery till my hands cramped. "Clean cuts," he said, watching me. "That's how you keep the line flowing." I started trusting that. The nights were long, but they were mine. No side eyes. No guilt texts. Just prep, cook, clean, sleep. One night, Harper came by after her shift, a folder under her arm, hot tea in hand. "Got bored," she said, mocked up a few logos. Doodles, fonts, a little drawing of a fork next to a skillet. It hit me harder than it should have. I asked if she ever thought of opening her own thing. "Not really," she said. My mom tore everything I liked apart before I could finish it. Got good at not starting. We didn't go deeper. Just talked sauces for a while. Safe ground. Real ground. A couple nights later, Luke texted from a new number. Mom says you stole from us. I stared at that message for a long time. Thought about the phone bill, the late electric, the debt in my name, the ride schedules, the drained credit. I replied, I didn't. You know me. That was all I wrote. Didn't add anything else. Didn't wait for an answer. The sun hadn't even cracked the sky when I parked outside the warehouse space in the Strip District. My Cambros were stacked in the back seat, labeled and taped down. I carried them in one by one, shoulders burning, nerves humming. Pulled chicken with tangy slaw, pierogi hash with hot honey, roasted carrot salad with mustard vinaigrette. That was my lineup. Delgado handed me the keys to that corner. Don't overthink it. Just feed them. I taped a line diagram to the wall, labeled every tray, double-checked, holding temps like it was a state exam. Harper was already up front, setting up the sign-in table. She looked at my labels, raised an eyebrow, smirked. You labeled the tongs? I shrugged. I like knowing what goes where. She handed me a Sharpie. Then you missed the sauce ladle. Get it together, chef. The volunteers trickled in. Neighbors from the hill, church folks, even a few food bloggers. I kept my head down, my station clean. Just hot food. Full plates, wipe down, repeat. Then a volunteer tapped my arm. Do we have a copy of the permit on site? City guy might swing by. My stomach dropped. Delgado was fixing a fryer. The binder was nowhere. That pop-up could get shut down in 5 minutes. Harper clocked the look on my face. She jogged over, already unzipping her tote. Breathe. You're covered. She pulled out a folder. Copies of my serve safe, the pop-up notice, the temporary health permit with today's date highlighted. I grabbed it with shaky hands. Got your back, she said, then went back to her table like it was nothing. By mid-morning, the room was packed. Steam clung to the windows. Music bumped. The slaw was getting low, so I doubled in. EXT batch. Heavier on the vinegar this time. Plates came back clean. I wasn't screwing it up. A guy from the local event board announced a mini cook-off. Comfort food category. No entry fee, just for fun. Delgado clapped once and shouted across the kitchen, You and Bennett. I nodded. Already knew what I was submitting. Pierogi hash, caramelized onions, diced kielbasa, hot honey drizzle. Pittsburgh enough to feel familiar. But mine. At the end of service, they read off the winners. My hash took first. A little envelope. A microgrant. $2,500. Plus a shout-out in the East End blog. I stood there, holding it like it might vanish. Delgado clapped my shoulder. You earned that. Don't spend it on anyone's phone bill. I laughed short and sharp. Heard him loud and clear. The buzz was still in the air when I saw someone standing too close to the coffee table. Dad, in his faded landscaping jacket, talking to a volunteer like he owned the place. He owes us, I heard him say. We raised him. Duty doesn't end just because you get a little attention. I was ready to walk over, but Noah beat me to it. Didn't say a word. Just stood next to me, arms folded, eyes locked on Dad until he got the message. Dad turned, mouth half open, then saw us both. Left without saying another thing. After clean-up, a guy with a food truck came over. You the one who did that hash? Ever want a guest spot on a Saturday? We'll split tips. I took his number. 2 weeks later, we did rib tips and slaw in Lawrenceville. Sold out by 3. The pop-up post blew up on Instagram. Someone drew my name above a house and a tiny skillet. Bennett's small kitchen. I saved it, made it my phone wallpaper. A few days after that, Delgado pulled me aside in the walk-in cooler. I've got a buddy with a spot in Polish Hill above his lunch place. 1 bedroom. Nothing fancy, cheap rent. But it's above a kitchen. If you're serious, I'll make the call. I'm serious, I said. Didn't even need to think about it. Later that week, at another event, serving trays, I saw a kid in a black hoodie head down in line. Luke. He didn't say anything at first, just looked around. Then, slaw is hitting hard. You make this? Yeah, I said. He handed over crumpled bills. Tastes better than what we got at home, he added. Just saying. He walked off, but I saw him finish the whole thing. That night, driving Noah's old car, windows down, air rushing in. Grease on my shirt, tips in my pocket, a win I didn't know anyone but myself. Noah was laughing about some guy who tried to trade pickles for a second plate. I was laughing too. Couldn't stop. It felt good. It felt earned. I needed a certified birth certificate for my real ID and the final culinary enrollment. The school had flagged it, only had that faded scan. I texted Mom, short and to the point. Need my birth certificate. State copy. Real ID deadline. She replied hours later. Must have filed it somewhere safe. I'll let you know when I find it. She didn't. A week passed. Then another. Nothing. Then, out of nowhere, your last box is in the laundry room. I'll be out from 3 to 4. Doors unlocked. No, hi. No apology. No mention of the birth certificate. But that window meant I wouldn't have to see her face. And that was good enough for me. I parked across the street, went in quiet. The box was there, sloppily duct-taped, my name in faded Sharpie. I had my hand on the doorknob, ready to leave when I stopped. Looked at the laundry shelf. That plastic folder, insurance/taxes, still there. Pulled it down. Heavier than I remembered. Opened it. Decree in bold. Then, adoption final decree. I kept flipping. An amended birth certificate. My name, same first and last, but the issue date was years after I was born. Parents. Renee Bennett, Todd Bennett. Next page. Immunization card from Wheeling, West Virginia. Not Allegheny County. Not Pittsburgh. Wheeling. The SSN paperwork. Issue date when I was about 5. I just stood there, holding it all, hands cold. There's a difference between suspicions and seeing it printed on state forms. Mrs. Wants, you were so quiet when you first came to live with them. Moms, we saved you. You owe us now. I knew exactly what she meant. I took photos of everything. One by one. Clear, centered, time-stamped. Then I put it all back exactly how I found it and walked out with the box like nothing happened. I texted Harper on the bus ride. She met me later that night. Didn't ask questions at the door. Just sat on the edge of the mattress. Let me drop the box. Waited. I showed her the photos. She scrolled, unreactive. Then she asked, "Want me to help you call the county clerk?" Yeah, I said. I want the certified copy. I want whatever the agency can tell me. She nodded once, opened her laptop. Will request non-identifying info. You've got the right. Closed case or not. I stared at my hands while she typed. I didn't feel anything right then. No anger, no tears. Just a blank wait. We called the Allegheny County clerk the next morning. Asked if they could confirm a foster to adopt case for a kid with my name, born the year I was adopted by Renee and Todd Bennett. The woman asked for ID, then put us on hold. Harper muted the speaker. Whatever happens, it's real now. Not just guesswork. The clerk came back 10 minutes later. File was sealed but active. Finalized when I was 5 in Allegheny County. Confirmed the amended certificate and the names of my adoptive parents. That was all she could give. But it was more than enough. Back. At Noah's, my coffee went cold. Quiet. The space heater hummed. The water pipe knocked. Harper didn't say, "I'm sorry." Didn't say, "That's crazy." She just sat next to me. What do you need next? I didn't have to think. Certified copy. Enrollment done. Keep my head straight. She nodded. Then we'll do it. I went to the kitchen that night and told Delgado everything. Straight up. No drama, just facts. He didn't blink. This isn't who you are, he said. It's just where you came from. This is the part where you pick what your life is, not what you were told. That night, I slept harder than I had in months. Not because everything was fixed, but because the fog finally cleared. The map made sense now, and I knew exactly where I didn't want to go back to. Dad called early Sunday, way too early for someone who never called first. My phone buzzed just after 6. "Come home for breakfast," he said. "Just you and me. Talk a little." I said I'd meet him. Not at the house. He offered a diner by the river, the one near the train yard that hadn't changed in 30 years. Vinyl booths, metal napkin holders, burnt coffee. I got there first, grabbed a booth in the back. He came in wearing the same navy hoodie, dirt crusted on the sleeves. Sat down, didn't look at the menu. The waitress poured coffee and walked off. He took a sip, leaned back, didn't ask how I was, didn't mention the texts I hadn't answered. Instead, he sighed. "The house is falling apart." I waited. He kept going. "Your mom's behind on electric. Phone plans disconnected. Netflix is gone. Fridge went out. Luke's missing school trying to take Ava to practice. They're overwhelmed." I stayed quiet. Then he added it. "We saved you, you know. Don't forget who raised you." I didn't forget, I said. "I also know now about the adoption. The amended certificate. All of it." He blinked once, caught off guard. "Only for a second." "Yeah," he said, quieter. "We did foster to adopt. Got a little help for a while. That's how it worked. Then the twins came along, and things got tighter." He looked at me like I was supposed to thank him, like that half-confession cleared something. "We did what we could," he added, as if I'd asked for an apology. I hadn't. I sat my coffee down. "You're asking me to come back and carry it again." He didn't deny it. Leaned forward. "If you moved home, we'd help with your schooling. Rent-free. It would free you up. We'd support you." "Support me with my own paycheck?" I asked. "Same setup. My money in your bills, my name on your accounts." He shook his head like I was being dramatic. "It'd be a trade. Everybody wins." I pulled out 2 folded sheets from my coat pocket, slid them across the table. One was the cease and desist Harper helped me write. The other, the small claims paperwork with the court dates circled in red. "Stop using my name," I said. "Stop opening things under my info. Pay your own accounts." He looked down at the papers like they were in a foreign language. Then he looked up and gave the same line he always used when he lost control. "You always were ungrateful." I didn't bite, just stared at him, still and quiet, until he stopped talking. The waitress came back, asked if we wanted to order. I told her I'd just take the check. Dad didn't say a word after that. 6 weeks later, right on the timeline the court clerk gave me, the hearing, I showed up with a binder, neatly tabbed, credit report, statement copies, dates, screenshots. Harper sat outside. Mom was there. Cried quietly in the hallway. I didn't stop. Sat down. Told the judge what happened. Showed the documents. Kept my voice steady. No drama. Just facts. The judge sided with me. Ordered a refund. Said the store card was fraudulently opened and the Bennetts were not authorized users. I walked out past Mom in the hallway. She reached out like she might touch my arm, then pulled back, turned her face to the window. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. The next day, Delgado handed me keys, wrapped in a takeout menu. Small, second-floor place over a lunch spot in Polish Hill. Tiny stove. Walls the color of old plaster. Kitchen vent that rattled. Smelled like fryer oil and burnt toast. It was perfect. "This place is yours if you want it," Delgado said. "You earned it. I told my guy you'd keep it clean and pay on time. Don't make me a liar." I didn't. First night, I unpacked my knife roll, hung a magnetic strip, scrubbed the tiny prep counter until it stopped smelling like last week's soup. Harper started coming by more, helping organize the next fundraiser, inventory lists, permit forms, recipes. She was calm, focused, kept my head straight when I started spinning out about portions or inspectors. One night, going over packaging options, we just sat on the floor, menus and samples spread out. When she left, she said, "You know you're doing it right. You're actually building something." Didn't answer out loud. But after she left, I looked around that room. Clean dishes, labeled storage bins, the quiet. And I finally believed it. The house back in Greenfield was still falling apart. But for the first time, I wasn't under the rubble with it. The twins' school held a spring awards night. Folding chairs, cheap streamers, giant laminated certificates. I showed up on time, stayed in the back row. Clapped when Ava got a leadership award again for Luke. Planned to leave as soon as they were done. But a staffer flagged me near the water fountain. "Your parents said you might say a few words tonight," he said. "Just as the older brother. Talk about how you're supporting them, helping with college. It would mean a lot." I blinked at him. "No speech from me," I said. "Not tonight." Walked straight past him. Before I could get 2 steps out, Mom appeared, like she'd been waiting for the cue. "Say something nice," she hissed, guiding me toward a small mic set up on a folding table. She gripped my elbow tight, forced a smile for the people watching. I looked at the mic, then at her, then at the kids behind her, trying to avoid our way. I leaned in, said loud enough to carry, "I'm proud of you, Ava and Luke. You're working hard and it shows. I'm building my own life now. But if either of you want shifts at my prep kitchen, I pay fair and on time. That's what I can offer." Mom's smile twitched. She stepped forward, laughed nervously. "He's going to help with tuition, too, of course." I looked at the mic again. "I'm not committing to that," I said, flat and direct. Then I stepped back, walked away. Silence hit harder than I expected. Parents found their phones suddenly fascinating. Dad stood stiff near the drink table, jaw locked so tight you could practically hear it. The twins stared at their plates like they wanted the ground to swallow them whole. I waited by the side exit. Ava came over first, arms crossed, voice low. "Mom shouldn't have done that," she said. "I didn't know she was going to pull that." "I believe you," I said. She hesitated. "I might take one of those Saturday shifts. I've been trying to save for books anyway." "Good," I said. "Let me know what weekend." Luke stood behind her, hands in his hoodie pocket, not saying anything. Not mad, just blank. "You good?" I asked. He nodded once. No words. They walked out together. That weekend, I worked the flat top for the food truck guys. Weather was trash, rain, and smoke. But we still sold out. I didn't think about awards night, not once during the rush. But when I got home, peeled off my soaked hoodie, collapsed on the futon, I slept like I'd been hit with a hammer. Monday morning, my inbox lit up. The neighborhood paper ran a small story. Fundraiser results. Cook-off win. Microgrant. One line at the end. Bennett's Small Kitchen, run by a Hill District volunteer. Served a crowd favorite pierogi hash and slaw. No full name, no photo. Just enough. I stood in my tiny kitchen, fridge humming, and reached up to the magnet board. Pulled out a doodle logo one of the kids had handed me at the last pop-up, fork next to a crooked little house, and stuck it dead center. That was mine. Didn't matter if it looked like a middle school art project. I looked at that magnet the same way I used to stare at my first pay stub back in high school. It wasn't about the number. It was proof. After the awards night, I went home and made a list. Not a wish list. Not a dream board. A cleanup list. First thing, I closed every single utility account still in my name. Phone, electric, internet. Done. Sent final notices certified. Tracked every envelope. Made sure the end dates lined up. If anything else showed up in my mailbox with my name on it and their address, I wrote return to sender in thick black Sharpie and dropped it back in the blue box. That refund from the small claims case finally hit my credit union. $1,182 minus court fees. Half into savings, the other half into my equipment fund. No detours, no family bailouts. That money had a job now. Harper helped me knock out the fraud report. filed the official dispute, froze my credit, signed up for alerts. While we filled out forms, she said, boring wins are the best wins. She wasn't wrong. A few days later, my tax refund dropped into the same account. Clean deposit. First one in years, with no surprise holds. I bought 2 second-hand stainless prep tables from a closed cafe, hauled them back in a borrowed van, found a used commercial blender on Craigslist, paid cash, carried it up the narrow stairwell, nearly threw out my back, but it made it to the counter in one piece. I registered a DBA, Bennett's Small Kitchen, and filed for a basic event permit. Delgado signed the paperwork as my mentor. No hesitation. His signature meant more than a whole year of "we're proud of you" from anyone else. That little one-bedroom over the Polish Hill lunch spot stopped feeling like a crash pad, started feeling like a real space. I shifted the futon, set up prep tables under the window. At night, when the street got quiet, I could hear the lunch spot's head vent humming below like white noise. Better than silence. It meant work was getting done. One Saturday, Ava texted, asked if I still needed weekend help. I gave her prep tasks. Wash, produce, label containers, stack trays. Nothing fancy. Didn't babysit her. She knocked it out without attitude and left with a clean white envelope of cash. No promises. No guilt trip. Luke came the next week. Just showed up at the door in a hoodie. Didn't even text. I handed him a dish towel, pointed at the stack by the sink. He didn't complain. Didn't ask questions. Just got to work. We didn't talk much, but he didn't look away when we passed. That was enough for now. It was a rainy Thursday when Harper showed up with a suitcase and a few taped-up boxes from her mom's place. She didn't make a speech. Didn't ask permission. Just walked in, set her stuff down by the futon, and said, "Dinner's on me if you're good with pasta and canned sauce." We boiled water, split the sauce, ate sitting on prep stools, plates balanced on upside-down mixing bowls. After, I cleared out a drawer in the dresser. Didn't say a word. She noticed. That was all it took. The next day, we put up a magnet board. Orders on one side, bills on the other. I stood there looking at it. Everything had a place. Nothing was on fire. Delgado stopped by that weekend. "You've got a shot," he said, checking out the setup. "Keep it about the food and the books. Don't get lost in anything else." "I won't," I said, because finally, for the first time, I actually believed that was possible. The envelopes came certified. One from the county clerk with my certified birth certificate. Another from family court with a finalized adoption decree. I didn't frame them. Didn't light a candle. Didn't sit in silence. I slid them into a fireproof envelope, sealed it, and tucked it under the sink next to receipts, my vendor permit, and the backup keys for the blender. That was where the important stuff lived now. Right where I could reach it, but out of the way. 2 days later, my phone rang again. New number. I let it go to voicemail. Same number rang again next morning. Then again that evening. I answered on the 4th call. "You're cold," Mom said. No greeting. No question. Just that. "I'll meet you in public," I told her. Neutral ground or not at all. She didn't argue. Texted a time and location. Coffee shop near the East Busway. Neutral enough. They were already there when I walked in. Sat across from each other at a tiny table, hands folded like a contract negotiation. Dad looked tired. Mom had her coat draped over the chair like she planned to stay. I sat across from them. Didn't order anything. Dad leaned forward first. "Come home." "No," I said. No hesitation. He looked at Mom, then back at me. "The twins need help." "The house. I know what the house needs." I cut him off. "But I'm not the answer to it." I let it hang there, then added, "I'm grateful you took me in." I am. I don't forget that. But I won't fund your house or babysit your life. Boundaries aren't punishment. They're how this doesn't keep burning. Mom crossed her arms. "We thought you'd understand." Her eyes were dry, voice flat. "We saved you," she added. I stood up. I'm grateful you took me in, I said again, this time louder. But gratitude isn't servitude. Neither of them followed me out. A week later, I got a text from Luke. Short, just a sentence. We're actually doing chores now. I get why you left. I'm sorry. I stared at it a long time, thumb hovering. Then I wrote back, proud of you. Shifts open this weekend. Harper came home that night with a cheap plant in a plastic pot. One of those grocery store succulents that barely needs water. She set it by the window. We ate leftover slaw and watched a game on the old TV we'd picked up from Facebook Marketplace. The magnet logo, fork next to a crooked house, finally peeled off the fridge. I didn't throw it away. I traced the outline onto a blank sticker sheet, cut it clean, and pressed it onto the inside of the door, just above the light switch. No spotlight, just mine. That night, I loaded the Cambros into the trunk for a church hall job, locked the door, shut off the light, stood in the quiet. No half-whispered demands through the vents. No stacked dishes waiting. No schedule written for someone else's life. The calendar on the wall listed nothing but my orders, my invoices, and Harper's class schedule. That was the house now. It wasn't fancy, just real. This journey, it felt like walking through fire, then finding my own light. It wasn't easy, and frankly, some days it still isn't. But it's mine. Now I have to ask you, what would you have done in my place when faced with such a profound betrayal from the people you called family? Have you ever had to choose between what's expected of you and what's truly right for your own life? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. I'm really curious to hear your perspectives.